Well, hello and greetings from the Nasdaq market site right here from the crossroads of the world in Times Square, New York, and we have a terrific conversation today. We are thrilled to welcome the State Financial Officers Foundation as well as state's treasurers. So we're thrilled to welcome President of SFOF, Derek Kreifels.
Thank you.
Kelly Mitchell, Indiana Treasurer. Hi. Dennis Milligan, Arkansas Treasurer.
Yes.
How you doing? And John Murante, the Nebraska Treasurer.
All right.
So everyone, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Look forward to a great
Glad
conversation here. So, I figured I'd start right there with Derek. What is the State Financial Officers Foundation?
Absolutely. Well, SFOF is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings state financial officers, so state treasurers, state auditors, folks who manage states' money together to talk about how we can better our financial positions as state governments from an unapologetically free market perspective.
We like that here in Nasdaq.
That's right. So everything from state pension funds, the ways that states think about their budgeting process, tax policy, we want to be engaged in that conversation to make sure that we are doing things that are pro-growth and limited government. But as you'll hear, we have a saying that if you've seen one state treasurer's office, you've seen one state treasurer's office. They're all very
We're going to get to that, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, and before we do, what brings you to New York today?
We are here for SFOF Week in New York City. We come and meet with several of our corporate partners, everybody from MasterCard and Fidelity, JP Morgan Chase, to KKR and Israel Bonds. And so we have a lot of great friends here, and we make the rounds and just have a great conversation about how we can be thinking differently maybe about some of the policies going on. And just continuing those relationships.
And those kinds of partnerships too, so
yes.
we can get to that. So I was going to ask, because we have 3 state treasurers here, like you said, you met one, or you work with one,
Yeah.
But what are your respective roles? So Kelly, can we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So as State Treasurer of Indiana, it's a constitutional office, meaning I'm term limited, 2 terms, but I'm considered the Chief Investment Officer for the state. And so my office oversees about $9 billion on a daily basis, but I also sit on 15 other boards, and I'm the only treasurer in the country that actually is responsible for statewide 911.
Wow.
So that gets to be part of what I do, which is wonderful. I'm also chair of our bond bank, our state bond bank, chair of our College Choice 529 program, and I serve on a lot of other boards that just gives me a really broad and very wonderful experience serving Indiana in so many different capacities.
Question is now, can you tell us about the Arkansas State Treasurer's role?
Yeah, many things that Treasurer Mitchell mentioned are the same for me. I oversee about a $4 billion investment portfolio. We also do about $70 million a day in revenue from the state of Arkansas. I'm also responsible for the Arkansas 529 College Gift Investing Savings Plan, which many treasurers are, very important. And so again, a lot of the roles, but my main focus is investing for Arkansas and making sure we get an adequate return for the investment.
Thank you very much. John, same question, Nebraska.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of overlap. We run in Nebraska's 529 program. We also run our ABLE program, which is a savings program for the disabled community. We run unclaimed property. So unlike Arkansas and Indiana, we're responsible for returning money to the people of Nebraska. So that's a really fun job to have. But I think most importantly, as state treasurers, and I think this applies to all state treasurers, we are the most trusted elected officials in government.
Oh, I agree.
At a time when the faith and confidence in elected officials is at an all-time low and at public institutions is at an all-time low, really the state treasurers are leading the way in ensuring that our constituents can have faith and confidence in the Treasury, that we are making decisions that are in the people's best interest.
Absolutely, yes.
In fact, we actually did a poll several years ago where we asked, who do you trust more on financial issues in your state government? We gave them the choice of the governor, a state treasurer, or their local member of Congress. And for governor, it was about 25%, depending on their popularity. The lowest that a state treasurer got anywhere was 65%. And unfortunately, the member of Congress, it was, in the tank.
Only the members of Congress trusted the members of Congress.
So, yeah.
Derek, we were actually talking about this too. So at Nasdaq, we have a lot of public-private partnerships. And just with your role, with state treasurer's role, that intersection between government, finance, private sector or private industry entrepreneurship. How do you support the entrepreneurship of the private sector in your roles?
Yeah, I think it's just hammering that free market philosophy. You know, we do not believe that government is the answer for everything.
Right.
To keep regulation and red tape out of it as much as possible and allow those entrepreneurs an environmental space to be able to come in and grow and start their companies with as little infringement as possible from state and federal government.
And I'll bet you have 3 different opinions here of what the best state is.
Probably.
But that's okay.
I won't take a
That's
side in
right.
this one.
Same, we'll be Switzerland.
That's right. That's right.
And we'll stay Switzerland then for the group, because one thing we always like to bring up for our audience is a lot of our viewers, how they come to us, or however they come to us, they're young, entrepreneurial minded, and they're thinking about starting careers, a business, or starting a complete new entrepreneurial platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to them?
Mine would be that America is still the greatest country on earth, and that if you work hard and you stay focused and follow your passion, you can make it here.
I love it.
I would say don't be afraid to fail. You know, be
Oh, yes, agreed.
driven, get out there, you're going to make mistakes, talk to people who have done this before, learn from them, but find your way and don't be afraid to fail.
Terrific.
I would say, and I mentioned it earlier, the best time to plant a tree.
Now I know,
Today.
today.
That's right, and get the show on the road, and I actually expressed that opinion to a lot of young people to encourage them to start their own businesses. But you got to take action. You got to take that first step.
Wonderful.
And prior to being elected state treasurer, I ran my family's small business, and I got to employ a lot of young people. And the one thing that I was convinced of was that this is a generation of people who have a lot of vision, a lot of pride, and a lot of enthusiasm. One thing we need a lot more of is financial education, especially at the K-12 level. And if I had a piece of advice to any young American, it's that check with your state treasurer's offices, because right now state treasurers are trying to lead the way in providing free financial education to all of our constituents, and there are resources that are available and out there. They just have to check in with us, and we're happy to provide that.
Well, great advice.
Yeah.
Well, Derek, Kelly, Dennis, John, thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on all you've accomplished.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next time you're in New York. with
Thanks
the
for having us,
SFOF.
Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here from Nasdaq, and we'll see you next time.